跟他做什么，就把它关掉。现在就是大家准备好了哦，准备好了哦。那我们第二堂课开始。Whilst I was having a coffee, I did have a brief chat. We have similar challenges in Australia to here. Ryan 本身是澳洲人，所以他说刚刚喝咖啡的时候，他是也分享在澳洲有一样的一些挑战。Most countries in the world, football is number one sport. 绝大部分的国家就是在世界上足球是第一个运动。In Australia, number 3 sport. Participation for children, number 1. But for income sponsors, we are competing with Aussie Rules, Rugby League, then football. 那在澳洲的话，其实澳洲足球算是第3大的运动。那虽然在草根的阶段，就是小孩子参加比例是最高的，但是如果说到就是收入来算的话，是在这个澳洲的限制的橄榄球之后，所以其实跟台湾的方面也有点类似。Taiwan, baseball, basketball, badminton, table tennis, football. 那他说台湾的话，可能就是比如说棒球啊、篮球啊、羽球、桌球这些，都在足球的之前。这是以财务观点来看，是一个观点。So football in Australia hard to get sponsors because they're sponsoring other sports. Same here. 也是跟台湾一样，就是在澳洲很多赞助商他赞助某个运动，他就不赞助其他足球的运动。So the challenges that you face, we face at home as well. 所以无论在澳洲、台湾，其实面对的挑战是一样。So we're going to the second session. We will focus on the financial management and reporting. Again, this will be a fair bit of information to take in, but hopefully you get a bit of information. Please stop me and ask questions anytime you need to. 那今天第2堂课的部分的话，是在财务的管理以及财务报表的呈现这2个。So this will be our agenda. We'll look at financial management, what it is, the financial goals and objectives, the financial roles and responsibilities in the clubs, reporting, and the reporting requirements. 那这边呢，就是以各个俱乐部角度来看，就是什么是财务管理，那财务管理的这个目标以及你的任务，再来是财务管理它所扮演的角色以及财务管理责任。那为什么财务管理很重要？财务报表呈现很重要，以及你的财务报表里面需要有哪些重要的要素。So financial management, what is it? It's using our assets efficiently and effectively to accomplish our goals and objectives. 所以财务管理第一个就是说，有效的使用你手上的资产来达到你的目标以及你所设定的任务。How we use these assets and what we have for the club, our resources, has a huge bearing on how successful our club is. 那第2点的话就是说，如何将你手上的资产做有效的运用，可以帮助你的俱乐部达到最大的功效。So in the case for your clubs, difficult to get income. So when we get that income, it's very important to make sure we use it efficiently and well. 那就像刚刚在课堂上各位分享，就是由于各个俱乐部拿到这个收入是很困难，那怎么样最有效，就是每一笔钱花到它最大的效用是这样。People within your club are very important. That goes for everyone. Coaches, players, administration, everybody here. Everybody has a role to make the club successful. 刚刚大家知道，也就是说，对于一个俱乐部来说，人资是很重要的。那这个人资不仅包含球员，包含教练，然后也包含所有的行政人员等。
That is in the regulations I showed earlier. There's a specific section on people, so that's how important it is.
那其实我们刚刚回到刚刚讲的俱乐部执照的部分的规范，其中有一个比较人资，那人资部分也有每一个人他所要负责的角色，它的重要性，这就是人为什么在这些条件里面是非常重要的一件事。
And it's important for the club to implement systems and processes, such as a procedures manual.
那就是第四点讲到，就是说一个俱乐部里面很重要的就是章程以及它的程序，因为你有章程程序。所有的行动才有所有的规范，所以在俱乐部要自己所整个一个系统建立。
So a procedures manual or the systems and processes is how we do things. So we want to know how we do things and have that recorded. So when we do something, we do it the same way every time.
那我们这边再详细的讲一下的系统。系统的意思就是指说，当我们遇到一件事情的时候，我们怎么处理，然后还有一个就是有。可以循规蹈矩的做，那每次遇到这件事情的时候，你都是做一样的方式，不会有所谓的太大的变化，这就是所谓的系统。
So, if somebody new walks into your club tomorrow, they'll be able to look at the process, understand it, and put it into action.
那举个例子来说，如果你的俱乐部今天派了一个新的人，然后他坐到这个位置上的时候，你有一个系统可以让他直接参照，那他就知道这个现在要他做什么。
And there are a lot of processes that will go on in the club. Most of you here have it all in your mind. You know how to do things. But simple things like paying a bill. How do we pay a bill at the club? Who approves the bill? Do we write a check? Do we do a bank transfer? Simple process that we all probably have in our head, but we need to have it in writing so somebody else will understand the processes.
那举个程序上的例子来说，就是假设今天一个俱乐部只需要付款，那这个付款的款项怎么申请，跟谁申请，谁需要回销，然后这东西其实最重要的是，各位都知道在脑袋里面，但是你会把它写成一个所谓的一个手册，然后让所有新来的人才能够看，然后他就能去做这件事情，这很重要。这就是所谓的系统跟程序。
There are plenty of procedures and processes that we need to understand, put in writing. As I said, most people here, probably people that run the club, do a lot and have it all in their head. You need to make sure what's in your head is on paper, because what's in your head is very important for your club.
而且各位脑中对于这个俱乐部的运作很重要，但是再次强调，就是把它写下来的话，才让俱乐部有一个所谓的资产。
So our goals and objectives. So the goals for the club, that's a broad statement of what we want to achieve.
目标，我们今天现在这一页看到是目标以及任务。那所谓的目标就是一个属于一个比较不能说模糊，但是一个比较远大的。
The club will have plenty of goals that we want to do. I think on the financial side, running a successful club, financially successful on the field, winning the championship, qualifying for the AFC Cup. There's some goals for the club.
那举个例子来说，比如说从竞赛角度，你可能是说我要明年能打 AFC Cup。那对财务角度来说的话，就是你要让你这个俱乐部的财务是健全的，然后还能持续运作。所以一个俱乐部的目标有很多个面向。
Our objectives are how do we achieve these goals? How do we run a successful club? How do we do it?
那 objective 这个所谓的任务的话，就比较更明确。比如说，我如果将要达到一个财务自由的俱乐部的话，那你是要做哪些事情？甚至可以看到这边就可以把它数据化。
So similar to what discussed yesterday about Facebook and trying to get more users, here it's about trying to get more income, more sponsors. So how do we achieve our goals of running a profitable club? we might want to get a certain level of profits, or we might want to increase our revenues by getting more sponsors, more gate actives.
就以拿昨天的行销的会议和今天来比较，像昨天我们讲到我们的目标是要更多的社群媒体的曝光，要多少人？那你的任务就是在某年某月达到多少按赞量。那对于财务来说，就变成说，好，如果我的目标是要达到，比如说财务自由，那我今年的任务就是说我要有多少的收入，或者我要减少多少的开支之类的。
So as I mentioned, it's specific regulation covering the personnel and administrative criteria in the regulations.
那你现在上面看到的是，在这个俱乐部执照规范中，针对财务的人员上面有哪些的一些要求？
So it's very important we have professional, educated and experienced people to run our club.
所以俱乐部在球场上的球员是专业的，那在财务方面呢，也需要是有财务背景或财务专业的人才来管理各俱乐部的财政。
And this is one of our goals today, to continually improve your understanding of your club, so you can take that back to other people in your club to help them out to understand the financial responsibilities of your club.
那今天这个研讨会的目的有一点就是，各位参加学员能把今天学到的财务的资讯带回去俱乐部里面，然后在跟俱乐部内部讨论的时候，告知说为什么这些财务人才有它的重要性。
So the clubs that are here, what clubs here have a general manager or a top level chief?
所以在场的俱乐部有没有哪一个球队是有所谓的总经理的，就是有一个最高决策人可以举个手一下。1, 2, 3, 4.
And then within that club structure, what clubs have a finance officer looking after the money?
那在各位的俱乐部的架构里面，有哪一个俱乐部是有一个独立的财务长负责管理财务？那谁负责？所以以后除了我们这边还有哪个财务长的负责管理财务？
Smaller clubs may be the same person, but the goal is to have separate roles.
就是目前，你如果是俱乐部比较小，同一个人，比如说总经理跟财务长同一个人没关系，所以无论有没有，就是有没有一个管理财务可以去试一下。
财务，你的意思说球队里面有一个人专门在管财务？
对。
但是不是
6. Okay. 6.
Excellent. So that's part of the criteria, is to make sure we have certain roles covered for the club. Financial officer, very important. Then hopefully in the future, underneath there, you'll have people that you manage. The financial officer will have a team under them that will help with payroll, paying the bills, bringing the money into the club, sponsorship, social media people.
那这边先强调前面两个，包含总经理以及所谓的财务长部分，是在俱乐部经营的这个执照里面一定要有个位置，尤其是总经理部分是它常态性设置位置。那你的财务长目前的规范还是可以坚持。那希望未来的发展是在最下面这个所谓的财务的这个财务组也好，或者会计组也好，那这些组人是可以负责就是付钱就好，然后财务长负责整个报表和这个就是计划的。
So the general manager.
我想请问一下，像我们公司，他如果说把财务的部分委托给会计师事务所，让他们有会计师证照的人来执行，这样可不可以？那如果说不行的话，那我们公司自己的负责财务的人，是不是需要一个等级的会计证照？
So it's about the financial officer. Can they outsource to like an accounting firm to do essentially for the club?
Yes.
所以你可以外包什么？
Ultimately, the goal is to have an internal person. Part of the regulations states you need to have a full-time or part-time financial officer.
但重点是因为在章程里面规范，这一个所谓的财务管理人或者财务长，他目前是属于全职或是兼职都可以。所以如果像你现在的外包状况比较类似像兼职， 但如果你太有改成全职，必须还是要自己内部这个监管。
那如果改成全职，它需要有证照吗？
So if it's internal, like they do it themselves, do it for the company, CPA, licensing.
Preferred, yes, but if they've got experience, we need someone to understand the role and have enough experience to be able to manage the role correctly, because it's very important. Their responsibility is for the financial reporting and preparing the financial statements, so they need to have that skill to be able to do that.
所以目前是没有规范你一定要有会计师证照之类的，但他希望是还是有相关背景，那当然有是最好的。
因为现在会计师证照就是有国内有最基层的是会计技术士，那个一般高职就可以去考，因为一般大学的可能会考一些国内的会计师证照，那另外还有国际上的会计师协会的会计证照，所以我不确定说如果要有的话，会要到哪一个等级。
The question is because there are so many varieties of licenses, domestically, internationally, so just
Yeah. Sometimes somebody's had a lot of experience doing this, has not got a qualification, but they are experienced enough to be able to do it. So a qualification is automatically necessary, but having that, they're already understanding the process, but not to say that someone's been doing it for 30 years, has more experience than me.
所以目前来说就是不能说经验大于证照，不能说证照大于经验，是因为没有一个需求。所以像有些球队在球队里面很久，他到这边做，但他可能没有证照。那最主要还是说你准备出来的资料是符合上面需求比较重要。就是这样。
Over time, as the club grows, you will need these roles to be. They will eventually become full-time roles as the club grows. There's more income, there's more expenses, players to pay, sponsorship money to collect. So these roles will grow over time as the club grows.
当然就是越来越大，所以都越来越多细项，所以到时候需要不断的去帮你规划财务。
So as the club grows and there's more people employed in the club, particularly in the finance area, we need to make sure the roles are clearly defined, who does what.
那我们接下来就讲到一个财务的小组的话，它的所谓的职责，它的工作的细项分配。
So that's an organisational structure, so you can put in place who's in charge and then have who's responsible for what, and it keeps coming down who's responsible for paying the players, who's responsible for paying the bills, it may be the same person. Everyone has a clearly defined role, responsibility, and who they report to. So the finance manager reports to the general manager, the payroll report to the finance manager. So a clearly defined role of who does what and who they report to.
那举个例子来说，最简单的方式就是一个树状图。那这树状图会清楚明白说，比如说假设 A 他是负责什么，负责付钱给球员，负责付钱给人员，然后 B 是负责供应商。那他们往上呈报的话是对谁？假设是对财务长，那财务长是在网上就要总结，所以就会有一个简单的树状图把你的财务组织这样架构出来。
As you mentioned previously, having the policies and procedures in place, the manuals, so how we do a transaction, we do it the same every time. So when we pay a bill the same way every time. We get the approval, we write the check the same way every time, getting our procedures in place.
那在的话，看到第三点的部分的话，就是所谓的你的程序以及所谓执行的方式。也就是说，假如你今天要写支票，写支票的流程是，比如说几天要谁盖过章，这个票要开14天，要开7天的，这个要有一个所谓的把它文字化，然后这样的话，你整个财务流程才是架构才会比较完整。
And one of the most important is complying with the rules and regulations. So that covers your club rules, the rules of the member association, the rules of the AFC, and your national laws.
那第4点也是蛮重要的，就是说你必须要符合无论是自己球队本身的规章、财务规章，然后再来是国内法律，然后协会，然后最后当然就是为亚足联成立法，它在财务上的一些规章的需求，所以你必须要符合法律。
So there are some countries where you may not need audited financial statements. However, those countries, if they want to qualify for the AFC Cup, they need to have them done. So their national requirements may not need them, but the club needs to go one step further to ensure that they get that done to qualify for the AFC Cup.
举个最直接的例子，就是说，有些国家它的所有足球俱乐部并不是属于需要把你的财务报表做审计，然后需要有会计师签的。但是如果这个国家的球队它要打所谓的 AFC Cup， 那它就必须多做这一个，其实在国内法律并没有要求它这样，所以就是刚刚提到为什么要符合，就是国内法律以及 AFC 法规范，我觉得差别在这边。
So again, the question to the clubs here: which clubs have their annual financial statements audited?
那这边就要问现场各位俱乐部，就是你们哪一个球队的每年的预算报表这件事有做过会计师签的这个动作？有没有哪一个球队做过？
我想请问一下，像我们是公司每一年的那个财务报表都会在报税的时候都会给会计师去签给那个政府单位、国税局。那像我们公司的球队是我们公司的一部分，那所以相关的一些东西会把它变成一个是大项，是属于球队，但是里面没有那么多的细项。那是不是像我们要符合 AFC 卡的程式的时候，我必须要另外再把里面球队的部分再独立去做一个属于球队的资产负债表、现金流量表、损益表这些东西再提出来给 AFC 上，还是说我们用整个公司的人力来代管？
So his question is that for his club, it's part of the whole organizations, and it's only part of the department. So instead of very specific account statements, balance sheets, it's the whole company's balance sheet. Financial statements gets audited and certified. So do they submit the whole companies, or do they have to be separate?
Very good question, because it was a discussion myself and Abby were having yesterday. So it's important that the club is operating, the football club is operating profitable, their numbers are okay, pretty good. Also, we need to make sure the company is not a risk that something goes wrong with the company, that they have financial difficulties, and that impacts on the football club. So we need both to be trading well. Not sure what the account.
所以，其实他们有在讨论，那他等下会再讲回答案。那目前的话，状况是因为像状况会变成说，如果今天母公司营运状况好，那当然不会影响到足球事业。可是假设他们现在假设突然间母公司营运状况出现问题，第一个被踢开的，会不会是所有的这些就是不是母公司营业项目主要收入来源？所以，他现在先讲到这个方面。
So what auditing is it's a step further than just accounting. So you get your financial statements, and what an auditor does is make sure that they're correct, and that the processes you have in place in your club assist to make sure the numbers are correct. So it's a step further than just having numbers, it's making sure that those numbers are correct. So that's one.
所以目前的话，状况还是说，你还是把整个公司的缴上去，因为毕竟是对这个审计单位来说，他们是看你整个公司的财务状况。
So to answer this question, it's okay to submit your annual accounts for the entire company, but within the accounts, footballing activities, the incomes and the expenditures for footballing specific activities, they need to be separated. So it's okay to submit the entire document as for the entire company, but like use that as a start. But it's important that we can identify what is attributed to the football club.
就是提到是整个公司审密上去的时候，你不能只有一个大项，就是足球的开销支出，必须得把足球再分成细项。也就是足球项目做的也是要有细节，让他们可以分析说跟公司比起来，你的开销收入是怎么样金流来源。我觉得简而言之，应该就是说你还是要准备2份。那至于大份公司这件事，你可以决定要不要一起
上面走，因为毕竟比如说拿大一点公司来说，他们可能还有股权，还有什么一些跟其他们不愿意接了。
And for a club with your setup, I would think the accounting or the finance manager of the full company would be wanting to know what football clubs are doing. They would want to know what each part of their business is doing. So I would think the accounting side would be looked at.
那就从你的角度，比如假设场边总经理，那你认为会有董事长，董事长会希望说你负责这个单位到底支出是什么，所以其实你都会准备一些想要往上升。
Thank you。
对，抱歉。
我请教一下，像如果我们来讲的话，我们的预算有300万是政府，是中央政府，这中央政府的是300万是到出席，
是。
那出席到时候在审计的时候，一定不会特别排在哪每次提名，应该也是整个嘛，对不对？然后另外还有300万是台中市政府，那我们在做核销的时候，另外这300万要送到台中市政府去让他来讲查核啦，然后最后他核定过，决定这个没有问题，核销接收单据什么各方面都没有问题，都符合这个法规，他才会经费才会下来。那市政府里面有市政府的会计单位，那这些会计单位我相信都是需要证照的，对，都是需要，我相信他们也是
就是您说的是需要球队里面有证照的，
不是，就是我们在核销的时候，现在我们现在申请这个俱乐部证照，或是你要得到社会的一定信赖的，但是因为问题是我们的经费的来源是来自于政府，两地中央政府、地方政府，可是我们核销的时候都符合他们的法规，都要送，比如说地方政府你就要送到市政府去，市政府的会计单位去审核嘛。然后中央政府当然是送到主协这边再送到允许去审核。那我不知道这样子的做法，事实上你，没有这样的做法，就是因为你没办法到最后你是没有办法送到会计师那边签合嘛，对不对？
这个是签合到您就是说签合的部分的问状况。
那主协这边是应该是可以签合，可是主协因为是整年都可能很多年，
因为其实它的签合是指说你的财务报表上面就是数字的正确性，对吧？所以那签合跟我们核定说可不可以提这里是两个签合的意思。对。首先是做的是 routine subsidize by approval is different from all the approval of the Chinese subsidy. 今年可以做到还是所以其实就刚刚可能是在于这个审计的部分，这个用词，因为核定的话是属于这些开销的部分，那核的话就是你比如说像对体育组是送到主席要往上送到体育组要核定就可以了，但是在所谓的这个审计的话，变成是说你这个数字其实在你的这个会计报表上面都会有写这一些哪里来，那审计单位的审计的那个会计师，他针对这个数字的正确性来做盖章，可能会有比如说会公文说这笔300万数以下，所以就变成是收入，但是它未收，就是未收的这个款项，所以这两个核定比较是不同的意思。
So financial reporting, and again, why is it important?
那我们接下来看到的是财务报告的这个部分，这报表的准备，还有为什么这个报表准备非常重要，然后它的重要性在哪边？
So we are ensuring our clubs are complying with the rules and regulations set by the Member Association, AFC, and your national laws.
首先，第一点最重要的部分是，你所准备的报表有没有符合包含国家的税法、法令、协会，然后最后是到主管的 AFC 和 FIFA 它所要求的法律规范。
and it provides the current financial health of the club. How is your club going? Has it got money? Is it in difficulties? It allows us to have up-to-date financial information to allow us to understand where your club is.
那第二个，这就像我们会做健康报告一样，财务报表就是你的俱乐部的健康报告。所以你的这个财务报表出来的时候，你可以让主管单位包括你自己以及协会确认多你的球队的运作会是继续持续。
It allows the management to be aware of the position. So if that is a club that's owned by a larger company, such as the Gentlemen's Club here, that allows management to look at the reports and see how the football club is performing. Allows you to think, what are you doing very well? What can you do better? And what else can we do to improve the club?
那第三个的话就是财务报表能告知上层更上层的这个决策单位说你的目前俱乐部的运营状况。那这个状况包含你到底是花了该花的钱，还花了不该花的钱等等。所以财务报表的第三个重要性是决策单位可以衡量一下表现。
And it provides credibility for the club. So we want people to play for your club. We want people to work for your club. We want supporters to support your club. We want sponsors to sponsor your club. Having financial statements allows prospective players, workers, sponsors to see your position and be comfortable that your club is someone that they want to play with and sponsor.
那第四个的话，就是我们刚刚提到的所谓的信用度，因为毕竟你有一个会计师审核过的这个财务报表，能更准确不只告知到你的赞助商，还有包含球员的部分有没有欠薪，那员工的部分也是一样。当然，接下来是往上层看的是协会，就是这个运作正常，然后最后 ABC 的部分就是说，好，你没有问题可以参赛，不会中途弃赛这样子。
As with yesterday, when you're approaching a sponsor, it is great if you have your financial position, so you can tell them where you are as a club financially and where you want to go. You want to sign some new players, you want to buy a stadium, you want to introduce youth teams to your club, you want to show them where you are. Tell them if they sponsor, their money will do this.
那提到就是，比如说，假设今天各位想要找一个赞助商，那你把你财务报表给他，那为什么要赞助这笔钱？是因为可能是你想要买新的球场，可能是你要有建构青年队，或者你要买什么装备。你可以告诉你赞助商，你这笔钱进来之后，我的流向是什么？那因为你有财务报表，所以它有它的透明性，所以赞助商也不会说我今天先把这笔钱丢了，然后也看不到它到底投资到哪里去。
These are our financial reporting requirements for the clubs. So we have annual financial statements, we have the audit requirements, and we have budgeting.
那这边看到的话，这边就是你需要准备财务报表的细项。那第一个就是年度的报表，那报表里面大概有5个，比如说是收支报表啊、金流啊这5个。那其实跟各个国家其实大家都大同小异，只是名称上翻成中文。
So the financial statements consist of 5 documents, where our session 3 will cover off all these documents in as simple as possible as we can.
那下午的课程的话，会针对上面这5个比较细项的报表来做介绍，包含这个报表里面要有哪些项目。
We will briefly discuss the audit requirements. As our question before, an audit is one step further than having your accounts done. It's usually performed by an external accounting firm. Taiwan is a member of the International Member of Accountants, so they have auditors.
那第二个的话就是所谓审计的部分，那会稍微介绍一下，就是审计师必须要有是外部的会计师事务所做。那台湾是属于这个在这个所谓会计师国际会计标准的这个前5个国家之一，所以会用这个标准做审计。
And budgeting, again, that's what we think will happen in the future, our incomes, our expenses. We'll spend the 4th session looking at budgeting in more detail and go through some examples.
那最后的话，但是预算的编排还有预算也要包含哪些项目？那就是刚刚我们讲的，一个是往回头看过去式， 那 budget 是往前看未来式。
So has anyone here had any personal experience with any of this information?
那针对这5个，比如说收支表啊、金流表这些的话，如果在座的这些俱乐部，无论是个人或者俱乐部的层级有做过这些表单的，可以举手一下。
Excellent. So we'll try to keep it as easy to understand as possible.
那像我因为这比较有点像是初阶的会计学，所以会尽量以简洁的方式跟各位做介绍，所以不用担心说可能需要会计背景。
下午的报告，下午报告，
那因为我们其实早上第2堂课的话，就是到这个简报就稍微结束。那因为我们还有一些时间，所以老师这边想问大家说，我们要不要先针对这个所谓的财产状况的这个 balance sheet 做一个稍微简单的介绍，然后我们再休息，还是我们要提早休息？早上课现在11:40。
1个小时，
都可以1个小时。对，都还先把一下。等一下，
那个，不好意思，
你说，
建议说，我们建议说，下午的课可以先讲。
OK， 好，我们现在就直接进行。好。
Yep. So as before, this is what makes up our financial statements. This is all the documents that we'll do. So we'll talk about how we prepare them, and then what each individual document is, and we'll have some examples.
所以下午的第1堂课的话，其实就是所谓的刚刚所谓的财报包含哪些？那你可以看到上面其实有大概4个报表，分别是刚刚这个资产表，然后净收入和支出的，还有金流表这3个。
So as we mentioned, one of the regulations, one of the 3 requirements is that the clubs must submit its audited annual financial statements for the previous financial year.
所以这里强调就是说有一个要求，就是每年俱乐部要缴交实际过的这些财务报表。
So our financial statements consist of what we call assets and liabilities. So assets are things the club owns, liabilities are things that we owe.
那使用第一个先教前面2个要素，那分别是左边的 asset 和右边的 liability。那我这边会中英文交杂的原因，是因为各位在申请俱乐部执照的话的系统它是全英文化的，所以各位可能要稍微就标示一下。asset 代表是资产，也就是你各个俱乐部里有些什么，那这些包含可能是球场啊，然后一些装备啊，或者是金钱啊，或者甚至人家欠你债。liability 的部分的话是所谓的负债，也就是你欠外面，无论是款项啊，或者是一些其他有形或无形的欠债，所以是 assets 还有 liability。
And also in the balance sheet is equity. So that's what the company is worth, what the owner's value of the company is. So that's part of your balance sheet. The word balance, these balance out. So you have assets and liabilities equals the value of the company.
那第三个的话是所谓的 equity。equity 我们中文在会计学里面翻译的是权益。那这权益指的就是说你的公司、你的商标价值是什么？那这个价值是有一个衡量的方式，不是说定它多少就多少。那这3个是最主要的项目，在所有balance sheet这个资产这个表上面最重要的3个。
Our income or our revenue and our expenses, they go into our profit and loss. So money in, money out is our profit and loss.
那我们刚刚第2个表单就是 profit and loss， 这就是收支表。那收支表就影响到包含你的收入以及你的支出。那收入是左边的 income， 那 income 是 income 是 revenue。所以你可以看到 income 的部分和 revenue 它就是同一个，在中文里面我们用收入 ，expenses 是支出的部分，就是我们的收支表。
Yeah. essentially, those three there, all your financial transactions fall into these categories. They're either an asset or liability, part of equity, or it's an income or an expense. So that essentially makes up all our financial reporting.
所以刚刚提到这5个要件的话，应该就能组成最基本的财务报表。那我这边补充一下 ，balance sheet 它说的叫 balance， 所谓的资产和负债，它最后是所谓 balance 会平衡。所以照理来说，你 balance sheet 的话，它是左边和右边是相等的。
The word accounting is what we say to, it's the process of recording the transactions to produce these statements.
那第3点，这个会计，所谓会计的意思呢，就是说，你在准备这些财务报表的过程，这就是所谓的会计，所以这是定义上的东西。
So for a monetary transaction, money coming in, we record the transaction, we understand what it is, and then we analyze the transaction, and that allows us to produce these reports. So each time money comes in, each time money goes out.
那一个简单的方式就是，今天有一个不论是钱或是那个物品进来，那你会先衡量它到底是属于你的资产的哪一部分，无论是金钱或是所谓的实质物品。那你分析之后，它的用途在哪里，它最后支出在哪里，整个流程的记录就是所谓的会计。
So now the best practice is there's accounting software. So either the club has accounting software, the company will have accounting software, or your accountant. So that's best practice because that system allows us to make sure that it balances, everything balances. When you do manual, there is the potential for mistakes.
那这边在最下面这个地方是最好的准备这些财务报表的方法是用一些市面上有的会计软体，包括 AAC 他们有一些合作的一些厂商会计的软体。那用这个会计软体的好处跟用一般的差别在于，你如果是用纸底或是用一些比如说Word 的软体或者是 Excel 软体，可能会有输入上的错误。但是你用这些软体的话，它在上面它会直接显现出你输入的数字文件。所以希望的目前就是改成用软体，用人工做执行。
Many businesses, even in Australia, still may do manual bookkeeping. You may do manual bookkeeping here. If you do manual bookkeeping, the goal is to, in the short term, move to accounting software to just avoid any potential errors and to move ahead with the times because we will need to do that.
但是 bookkeeping 只是记账，无论在澳洲或者它相信在国内有很多目前都还是以人工记账的方式。那当然长远来看，还是希望大家慢慢就是用电脑化。那人工记账就是有人工记账的风险性，就在这个方面给大家一些考虑。
Do people here at the clubs know if they have accounting software?
在座的俱乐部有没有哪一俱乐部有使用这个所谓的会计软体？所以全部大家都是用手动记账 Excel， 所以用 Excel 的大家可以组成，如果你经常用 Excel， 那两边也是 Excel。
So our balance sheet is a statement of our assets, our liabilities, and the equity of the club. So as we said, assets are what the entity owns, and liabilities are what the entity owes. Debts.
那我现在看到第一个就是资产表，那资产表包含3个大项，分别是你的资产，刚刚讲到 assets、liability 的负债以及 equity 的权益，所以你的资产表这3大项。
Your balance sheet is measured at a point in time. So it could be today. So at year end, we say this is what we have as assets. This is what the company, the club owns. We have liabilities. This is what the club owes. So it's measured at a point in time.
跟资产表跟大家讲到的强调的一个观念，资产表是指在1年或是一个时间点上某一点，而不是指一个时段。也就是今天你如果做一个你球队的资产表的话，是今天你的球队有多少的现金，多少的资产。可是你今天的资产表跟明天不一样，你今天花了什么，赚什么，所以这是一个时间点的观念。那这点和线的观念对于 在做财务报表上面会有差别。也就是为什么你看到每年会计报账的时候，其实有些账为什么要在几月几号报，其实有这个关系。所以这是一个观念要给大家知道。
So the most common reporting is at the end of the financial year. So yours, May. So often it will be here. It will be for the year finishing 31st of May 2019, your financial year. So you'll report what you have at that time.
所以这边的话，资产表的准备一般都是指会计年度结束。那每个国家会计年度有不同，有的是用1月1号到12月31号，有些会跨年度。所以这个资产表的准备都是以年度最后一天，通常才会在那地方做准备。
So this is what our balance sheet consists of. As we mentioned, there's assets, there's liabilities. We do break them down into what we call current and non-current, and then there's an equity position. I'm just going to hand out a simple example that we might discuss.
那我们今天就是让大家看一下，就是资产表的一些案例，请大家传下去。
So this is a very simple balance sheet with some assets and some liabilities on there.
那这是一个非常简易的，请大家就非常简易的哦，你可以选负债，然后上面就是有看到你的资产，还有你的负债在上面，然后最下面是你的权益。
So current assets are things that what we would say are readily available or can be turned into cash quickly.
那我们先看到所谓的 current asset 就是目前手上的金流，那这个东西的话，目前手上的资产，我们该这样解释。那这个定义上就是说，你手上的资产是可以很快速的转换成现金的，这才是定义成 current asset。
So things such as cash at the bank and accounts receivable. If another club has purchased a player from you and owes you money, they will pay that in the near term.
那比如说一些例子，比如说像你手上的现金，或是你在银行里面的现金，这就算 current asset。还有的话就是假设有些其他不论是厂商或其他球队欠你的资金的话，你应该是 current asset 的部分。
And non-current is generally longer-term assets, such as plant and equipment. So if you buy your office or you buy a stadium, the club owns your office. That's considered a long-term asset, but is not usually converted into cash quickly.
那右边的话叫做非现有的资产，非现有资产部分，比如说假设一些建筑物啊，然后是一些长期的投资，然后甚至是一些就是非现况的一些，所以你的球员，他就是没办法直接转换成现金的，那这些就属于非现金的资产。
So in our example there on the page. So our assets are what we want to have. That's what the company, the club owns. So the club owns assets, so we want assets. So,
所以以球队的角度来说，当然就希望你越多的资产越好，因为越多资产代表你可以越活用，而且越多的资金可以做投资。
So just as an example, I'm going to give out a couple of these. So assume these are $10.
假设这一张是10块美金。
So on our current assets we have cash, we have $20. Or our cash for the day.
所以现在就比较
20
美金，10万20美金。
We have our accounts receivable.
那这是 accounts receivable，就是像
on our
像
example.
球队欠你的10块。
Then we have our tangible assets, so that's our stadium. That's worth 50.
所以因为看上面，然后这现在的话是50块的球场。
So over here are our assets. So we have our cash, we have our accounts receivable, we have our stadium.
就是右边这一区的话是资产，也是 asset 的部分，代表的是在资产表上面的 assets。
So our liabilities.
那接下来我们看负债。
So this is what the club owes to somebody else. So these are our debts.
那一样看到负债也分有现有负债和非现有负债。
So these might be our bank loans, which we mentioned earlier.
那比如说刚刚常平提到，就是所谓的贷款的部分，那就是属于比较长期性的。
We might have accounts payable where we bought a player and we owe another club some money.
那比较现有的负债，像比如说你买了一个球员的权利，那你可能欠其他球队一些费用，薪资或转会费也好。
And we might have so a current liability is usually something that is due for payment within the next year.
那怎样分为现有和非现有的负债？就是现有负债是你在1年之内需要付清的，叫做现有；那超过1年之后才要付清，叫做非现有。
So we may split up our bank loans because we'll have some due now and some due in the future. So they can be both current and non-current, and then some other long-term provisions or tax provisions.
所以贷款比较特殊的是，你每年都要付，那你贷款可能是20年、30年，所以你今年欠的那个贷款叫做左边的现有负债，但是你剩下扣掉今年剩下欠的钱都是长期的负债，所以就分到右边的非现有负债。
So if we think assets are good, the liabilities, we don't want too many liabilities.
所以中间的负债是我们最不想要的。
So we have our bank on our example, we have our bank overdraft and loans. So we have our little man that's going to take our money. This is our debt.
所以这个话就是负债要把钱拿走，对。所以这个
It could be the current,
现有的贷款，10月。
it could be our accounts payable, that's what you owe to another club.
所以欠买了其他球员的权利，所以欠10月。
Yeah. You can be our non-current bank loan. So there's 33 of those.
所以3张长期性欠债、长期性贷款。
No, you want to keep the assets. You want to keep the assets. So we have our assets over here, the good guys. Show me.
就是有钱的钱举起来，是大家喜欢的。
So that's what we own.
就是我们拥有的。
Over here we have the bad guys, the liabilities, what we
这是我
owe.
们需要的欠债，欠债。
Hold them up. Look at them wanting to get the money. So our club net assets, so what the club has overall is our assets, less our liabilities. So what we own over here, less what we have to pay out.
那一个球队的净资产，就是指我们现在最右边的、最左边这一块的资产，减掉中间这一块的负债，就是我们说的净资产，那就是下面那一页的net assets 净资产。
So a net asset position is good. The club has more resources than debt, so we have more assets than liabilities.
那这要就分成2个，如果净资产正值的话，当然就很简单，就是指你的财务状况是好的。
If the club's in a net liability position, that's not so good. The club has more debts to pay than it actually has assets, resources to use.
那相反，另外一个净负债，那净负债就是你的负债大于你的资产，那这就属于不好的状况，一样就是正或负的概念。
We will assume that the club in our workshop is in a net asset position.
所以我们接下来的活动的部分是以我们的状况是好的，以及有净资产。
So how we work out the net asset position is assets over here, take off our liabilities. So I want the liabilities here to stand up, please.
好，这边负债的请站起来，
With
负
your
债先站起来。
The assets, you hold them in the air.
这边有资产的把资产举起来。
I want the liabilities to walk over, and at each one of these you have, take one of them.
所以你负债的手上有几个，就跟对方拿几个。比如说我假设有一个，就跟这边拿一张，对方买一张。
Yep. Now you keep your little bad man.
就是负债就继续保存着，就放在这边。
Okay.
好，
So you can sit down.
这边的负债可以坐下。
So in this case, we've used our assets over here to pay our debts. So we've gone, assets are now gone, but our debts are gone. What have we got left over there? Hold them up.
所以这边资产还有的取下来。
So we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got 30. So you can see our net assets is 30 on our example.
所以你可以看到下面有一个 net asset，就是你净资产如果是正30，跟现在刘老师跟马先生一样。
We had 80, but we had to spend 50, so we've got 30 left. 1, 2, 3.
所以这是比较单纯，就是加减，所以剩了30美元。
So that's essentially a balance sheet. The word balance. It's taken out at our 80, paid our 50 off. We have 30 left.
所以我们的收支表上面，资产收支表其实很简单的概念，就是说，当右边减到左边之后，如果还有正的，就剩下的就正相关，正数。那如果有欠钱的话，刚好就是相反的状态。
So that's a simple example. Our ownership of the club is what we have left. So that's what the owner's value of the club is. So that is the value of the club. Equity means the value of the club to the owners.
那我们要讲到刚刚第三个就是权益的部分。什么是权益呢？权益也就是当我们刚刚左右相减之后，剩下的东西就叫权益。就像现在我们权益其实是30的意思，所以权益就是等于 net 净资产。
So essentially our equity is the same as our net assets. So our equity is what we have left, what we own.
所以在这强调的是，就是权益就等于净资产。
Now this is a simple exercise. Some of the larger clubs will have value in their brand. So someone will want to buy Barcelona, they will pay a lot of money because Barcelona is a very good brand. So it's not just their assets and liabilities, but also what is the value of that brand.
我们要强调另外一个概念是所谓叫做无形的资产。那什么是无形的资产呢？我们就以巴塞罗那这支球队来做举例，因为巴塞罗那的它的 logo， 它的这个产品的名称，它是看不到的，但是摸不到，但它又有一定的价值。那这是所谓的权益的部分。那这是比较抽象的，但这是也是属于资产的部分。对，就刚刚。
Have we got any questions on the balance sheet?
所以在这个资产表上面有什么问题答案？
这提到这个表是要变成数字量化，还是说要数字化
So like a brand, how do you analyze it?
Yeah, so when it's called goodwill, is the word they use, goodwill. And what goodwill is we value the brand. So someone says, your club is worth 30, but I think your brand in Asia is worth more, so I will pay you for your club 100. So I'm paying you more than what you have in assets. So I'm buying your brand as well, so I'm giving you more money to buy your brand. So that's the big clubs in Europe. Their brand is worth money. So someone will buy more than just your assets.
所以这个在你刚刚提到巴黎大问题，在会计学上叫 goodwill， 也就是一个出于好意的意思。那比如说，假设你的现在净资产是30，但是我愿意用100块跟你买，就代表你的 goodwill是这个东西的差价，就是我觉得你的整个产品可能俱乐部的价值是超过你现在手上现有的现金的流量，所以我就愿意用更高价。
So that would be on the balance sheet, goodwill.
所以 goodwill 这部分也会在你的资产表上。
So it will balance out to what the club is worth. So your watch, you might have bought that yesterday for $30. I think that watch is going to be worth a lot more in the future, and there's no more of them to be sold. So I'll give you $100 now for your watch. So you'll go, that's good, I've just made some money.
所以举例的，就像你手上的手表，你可能昨天才买是花了30块，可是可能它就量产，它就这一只，只要今天要转手要买，它就可以出个到价钱。那你这个上面记录在你的 上面，然后这个其实它的价值。
But in 5 years' time, I might be able to sell that watch for 200.
对他来说，他投资者可能在5年之后，他觉得这个再翻一倍，所以这就变成他之后他的资产表开始会降下去。
So I'm paying you more now for the watch, the brand, to be worth more in the future.
所以对他来说，他就是投资客，他宁愿多付你这一点钱，但他看到以后的成长性。其实以足球方面就变成是球员了，年轻的球员怎么把你引进我的球队的概念。
So the large clubs in Europe, their goodwill is massive.
那像刚刚举例就是你如果看到欧洲一些大的球赛，那这边就多加了部分是有些球队它是在上市上柜公司，那它就会在它的资产表，它里面就有一个goodwill，那goodwill价值就非常高。比如说曼联还没有私有化的时候，它就有一个goodwill，那这几个球队其实可以在它的官网上当做它的资产表。
那这个goodwill它谁去评估它的价值
？So there's an assessor to assess how much goodwill you have.
Yes.
所以其实就是在会计师事务所里面，它有一个估价师，就跟地产估价师一样，他估一个球队，他也是进来球队，我要买你之前，我有估价师来看你这个价格大概多少，有点像是合并之前要开估价的去估这个概念，所以球队其实是这样。
所以比如说像南京可能也有个价嘛。
So every brand like the leagues, every club has a value.
Yes. So really, in an easy way, goodwill is what are you prepared to pay more than what the club's worth. So if the club's worth 30, am I willing to pay you 100 for your club? If I pay you 100, I'm paying you more than what your assets are.
所以我们用goodwill就是好的态度的意思，就是因为你以前只30块嘛，如果用100块给你买，这中间差价70块是我愿意付的，所以我出于好意给你买，所以才用goodwill这个词。好，所以我们早上课就到这边，就是我们资产表就稍微做个总结。那我们下午的课我们大概1点钟开始，就请大家先休息一下。早上课就到这边，谢谢各位。
谢谢。
对，还是要要不要买是你的事情。对啊，你觉得这个钱是不是？因为对方已经是出价，他自己对。好，对啊，我出100可以吗？对方不会去估，对方不会自己看他自己有多少，然后就算一个他觉得可以。像那个中心他自己有开大，那你说你这样子100，我这边说这样子80，肯定会就对方面资产形成对，所以有时候在加上他的资源跟所以刚才讲像卖要去。所以你的养鸡自己买下去，而且你要还会正好打他过去的对啊，大球队下死，你们去调那个大球队的价值在哪里？我的养鸡天下，然后我不知道。
Use the board. Okay. Yeah. So profit loss is the income. What's the other one? It's actually balance sheet. And then when we do the okay. Like if you do want to be able to
现在是2点开始吗？
一点，对，1点，没错。
先吗？吃饭。
各位那个便当已经在外面了，可以先来拿了。 我老师那个方面非常不错，还有市场。